Hello, welcome to Higher and Beyond podcast episode 2. I'm so happy. I'm so happy and I'm so excited today that I have my special guest from far away around the world, which from Europe, Italy. And um I've known her for about 2 and 3 years ago, and we met online, and she is one of my biggest inspiration in life. She is also a senior ecologist. She is a holistic life coach, an awareness mentor, and she is an entrepreneur. I'm going to welcome her. And hi, Sarah, welcome.
Hi, Uni. Thanks for inviting me to speak with you. It's really great to be here. And you're my
Oh,
inspiration too, as everybody else in ecology.
well, thank you for joining and thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. It's a
Oh,
pleasure to
wow.
speak with you.
It's so beautiful today, and I'm so excited about our discussion, our topic. This is the a very important topic. We're going to talk about and dig deeper about communication. And in life, a communication is very important. So, what do you think about the communication that very important in life? Is it like, do you agree with that? Or is just that it's just a label? Because I believe that many people, and well, I believe that every people know that communication is very important thing in life. What do you see
Mhm.
from that?
Yeah. Well, it's the foundation of human interaction, isn't it? A communication, or we're communicating through words, or we're communicating through our connection with each other energetically. So the way we are, the way we're being has a big impact on other people and the world. So communication is fundamental. I mean, it's thousands of years that people have been actually trying to communicate with each other, millions of years probably, in one way or another. So it is the foundation. And most relationships, working, family, interpersonal relationships are based on communication. If we didn't communicate with each other, then we'd just be kind of all walking around like zombies.
Hmm.
So it's fundamental. And something that worries me is that in our modern world, we are losing a little bit this capacity to communicate authentically with people. It's becoming quite synthetic and just speaking, rather than really connecting with people and being interested in them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, a communication is very fundamental, like you said, that if we don't have a communication, we like a zombie. And then it's interesting also that you said about nowadays, it seems like a communication is a little bit far away. Like what I said earlier, that many people believe that communication is very important. And talking about relationship, it's so kind of difficult to actually talk about themselves or communicate authentically.
Hmm. When they first meet each other, when you meet somebody in a relationship, let's say two people that like each other, you've got those feelings, you like each other, there's that initial attraction that you have. But I mean, how actually deep do we go with communication? And we have to think that
Mm.
communication is also tied to how balanced we are within ourselves, how grown, mature we are within ourselves. So when we're communicating with somebody, it depends on where we are, where we're at in our own personal growth. And going through life, when we go into a relationship, everything's good at the beginning. It can be very good at the beginning, but then there can become difficulties. And I think that a lot of the time these difficulties develop because of the type of relationship we had with ourselves at the beginning. So if we're unable to communicate authentically, when you go past that initial, in love moment. It's how mature are you to keep the relationship going? Because we all fall into this everyday life, the mundane, the working, the this, everybody's more and more occupied in their time, and they kind of get home and they've got nothing to say to each other
Yeah.
anymore. And
Interesting.
it's not even like, how was your day? People don't even seem to say that to each other anymore. They get caught up in their own stress and what's going on with them, and it gets more and more difficult to actually genuinely come together and say, hey, how was your day? And just sit and listen to the other person. A lot of the time we don't even want to know probably the problems that the other person's had, because we've had our own problems and issues during the day.
Wow, this is so deep. We have our own self problem. That's why we're not kind of interesting with asking a question to other people. So, and you mentioned about it's actually come from the relationship with ourselves at the beginning. That's why when we met people or we are in the relationship with someone, for example, or partnership or intimacy relationship in there, it became like just it's nice at the beginning and then it become difficult at the end. And I would say that nowadays, like the relationship, especially intimacy relationship, there are a lot more. Not every, but some of them, or many, I would say that relationship are fail after a few time later at the end. So what do you think about that? Why is it the relationship with ourselves at the beginning? What's the problem in there?
Yeah, because how mature are we? What are our values? How mature are we? Do we really know this person that we're getting involved with? How mature are they? What are their values? Are we coming together to create something, to create a life together, to make plans? Or is it just like that initial attraction and then it just dies off? This is very much a chemical sort of sexual thing as well, a lot of the time these days. And it's like, how connected really are we? Do we really communicate right from the beginning? Can we really speak to each other?
It's hard.
Yeah, there grows the power struggle. We've learned that there's you get to a period where there's the power struggle, and you have to go beyond that. And that's the moment when you need to connect and make this connection, this authentic connection, where each partner can really open up to the other. And that's very difficult because people have triggers. They're seeing their old traumas or family traumas or something within themselves, and it's being triggered. I mean, I've had it personally myself. I'm teaching people how to communicate, but sometimes even with my partner, it's very difficult to actually sit and listen deeply to what they want to say. And because we kind of have these assumptions about our partner, they're going to be the one that keeps my back, looks after me or whatever, they're rooting for me. But we don't consider that maybe they've got issues, maybe they've got emotional things going on with them, and are we willing to listen? So here we come to listening. For me, communication, the most important part of communication is actually the active listening. Because we all want to speak, but how many of us want to listen?
Oh, wow. And this is I get it from the beginning that like the relationship at the beginning, it's so beautiful because I personally can say that at the beginning, I just want to impress people to like me instead of being authentic, that this is who I am. And then I become what the other person wants me rather than become myself.
Yeah.
And I personally kind of tend to, I just want to talk, and then all of a sudden, the active listening it become like later or separately. So how we can have a good communication beside of active listening, and how can we be understand about that active listening is very important also in the communication.
Mm. Well, active listening is being able to just openly listen, heart-centeredly listen to somebody and their needs, and here you can go a little bit into the nonviolent communication. What are our needs and how we can actually express our needs to somebody authentically, without blame, without, just like when there's a situation that arises in an argument, a classic argument in a relationship over nothing usually. But it actually has a base, and the base is that you have some needs in this moment, but instead of expressing your needs, you just have a big fight about that situation. So and you probably have needs that you don't express. The other person doesn't know how to receive what we're creating, because it's what's actually being created isn't the problem. The problem is that the needs aren't being met for you. And then if you've made the row, or the rows happen between both of you, you're not expressing your needs, and the other person doesn't have a chance to express their needs.
How can we express our needs actually in the communication and relation, especially in the relationship?
By being aware of ourselves. We need to become more aware of ourselves, how we are responding. So when somebody's talking to us, are we really listening, or is there a conversation going in our minds? Are we feeling emotional about what the person's saying to us? And then consequently, how are we behaving because of the thoughts and the emotions that are going on inside us? So we need to become aware of what's actually going on inside of us. Have we got bias about what people are saying? Have we got triggers about what people are saying? Or are we just listening to understand them?
Wow. It's big. Actually, communication is not just like as a word. It's a communication, but actually it's a lot of work, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of work because it's on a lot of levels. It's not like when you're communicating to somebody, you're giving them your mental, emotional, physical, energetical levels, all levels. You're really communicating. And even like when we're right, we have the three types: passive, assertive, and aggressive. When we're being aggressive, you're actually impacting a person in such a way aggressively, not only by what you say. That those words, the aggressive words, have a massive impact on somebody's being. So if you're assertive and honest and speak from your heart your needs, then the other person doesn't feel attacked, they don't feel impacted, because it's neutral and you're just expressing what you need, and you're not putting any blame on them, you're not attacking them. And then if you're passive, then you're, like you said before, you're people pleasing. So you're doing everything to please the other person, but you're still not satisfying your needs, and then you get frustrated. So as a passive person who's trying to please the other person and get them to like them, you will then get frustrated because you're not being authentic to yourself. So, then you get frustrated and you become maybe aggressive in some moments. So ideally, we would like to be in an assertive mode, assertive and empathic, which is the nonviolent communication. So to be assertive, we can express our needs, but not deny the needs of the other person. So we can express our needs, express what we want, what we're feeling, something that's upset us, but in a non-blaming way. And be prepared to listen to what the other person has got to say. We can't just be the only one that does all the talking.
So what happens if we are the only one who's talking to the person and the other person not actually active listening? What is it going to be in the communication?
Well, in the end, then all the relationship can carry on like that in eternity if the passive person's willing to just keep putting up with the aggressive communication, or the relationship ends. You know, that's what usually happens in the long run. Then something's going to break up unless there's a way of finding, you know, this balance and learning how to communicate better. But most of the relationships are breaking up now because of this. You know, people aren't being authentic. They're not getting to know themselves. Who am I really? And they don't seem to want to as well. I mean, I know that's a little bit of a generalization, but it's what I'm seeing a lot is that the importance isn't given to this personal growth.
Wow. So many people many relationships have failed and ended nowadays. It's because they not actually communicate authentically. Why is it? What is actually the cause inside of that?
It's themselves, you know, it's people, are they really being authentic? You know, they meet each other and they go out, or it can be in any relationships, because it can be on the workplace. We see it in the workplace, we see it in other relationships with people in general. You know, how authentic are people these days? Is it very superficial and very light, not getting involved with people, you know, not wanting to know? Also because I think there seem to be a lot of problems and weight in the world, you know, and we're only ever seeing the problems. So people probably find it even more stressful to listen to other people that have got problems.
So it again coming back, the communication, it coming back to, you know, themselves, from who they are from the beginning, because they don't speak authentically. And then I also a little bit curious. Well, I would say that I'm curious about why actually people don't want to speak authentically, because they are afraid, or are they only stressed because there's already a lot of things in their mind? And
yeah, it's fear. It can be fear, or it can be, you know, they're probably not aware. It's a level of awareness as well. What's actually going on with them? You know, where did this come from? Where did they start doing it? Where did they start having these behaviors? Because there's a lot of reasons why we are like we are. So, but I think that's mainly it's to do with personal growth and learning, becoming more aware of yourself, how you are behaving, you know, educating yourself as well on these things, learning a little bit. I mean, we've learned CBT, so learning about the cognitive distortions, cognitive bias, and things from Ellis. You can go and buy a book and have a look at these things, because for me this was mind-blowing. It was opened me up to understanding myself and understanding other people on a massive scale. And it's all about personal growth. It's not until we actually start to become aware of ourselves and how we are behaving, you know, take responsibility for yourself. Because if your relationship hasn't worked, we can't blame the other person, because it was two people. So it's two people in there. There's not just one person in there. You know, a lot of the time you hear people that come away from a relationship, oh, it was him and him and him and him, or her and her. No, it was both of you. You know, there's two sides to the story. So you've both got a difficulty in communication. You've both got some kind of difficulty with yourselves, you know, awareness of yourself and how to put yourself forward in the world. But a lot of it is, if we just learnt the communication styles, we'd already start to be on a journey of like recognizing things about ourselves.
And I believe that actually all people, like what I said earlier at the beginning, that all people are understand about that communication is very important in life. And nowadays, I personally witnessed that a lot of relationship fail because, related with the personal growth, that I understand about the personal growth. I know that communication is very important, but the relationship is still fail. And you mentioned about learning a communication until they get aware of themselves. Don't you think that people nowadays, they are actually not working on the personal growth to make the relationship work together? Or what is on your side that, people are not wanting to work on the personal growth instead of just blaming others? Or
I think it's down to, as far as the relationship goes as well, it's down to intimacy, because you lose when these problems start to arrive and there's a breakdown of communication. If one person's been a little bit aggressive to you, you're passive, then maybe you'll kind of retract and start. You're already going to be offended, but you haven't expressed that need. You haven't said what you said to me. I felt offended by what you said to me yesterday, or something like that. So that festers inside. That's festering. It's an emotional wound inside a passive person, and these things create a block in the connection between intimacy between two people. So the intimacy starts to not be there anymore. Slowly, those intimate moments, you start to not actually want to have a lot of intimate moments with the person. It gets less and less and less. There's less trust. You lose trust. You lose, the values that you had maybe a little bit before. But it's not one person's fault or the other, because both people aren't expressing their needs.
Again, coming back to the expressing the needs from the first place.
Yeah.
Being authentic.
And that's only, yeah, because at the beginning you're very relaxed with each other, you're just getting to know each other, and you're very accepting. You're accepting any kind of behavior. You might even have red flags at the beginning of the relationship and see things, oh, that's a bit strange, but you're all accepting at the beginning, aren't you?
Okay. Yeah.
But after time, you start to see and think, oh, hang on a minute. No, I don't really like that behavior. So, these are the little red flags. These are the moments where there needs to be an intervention. And this, again, it's down to the fact that we're not connecting. We're not speaking authentically to each other. We're not expressing our needs.
Okay. Interesting about the red flag. I personally experienced that. Well, it's a red flag. I don't like this, but that's okay. I'll accept this person as who it is, like that, for example, right? And then because I don't speak it like we don't communicate it in the first place like this. Our need is not being met in this case, and it become again and again and again and again. So is it okay to just actually discuss about it to the other person right at the beginning, rather than wait and wait and wait?
I think it's better to discuss those things right at the beginning.
Okay.
What what you accept, what you don't accept, especially if you see somebody behave in a way that for you it's really, you know, you need to express your needs in all occasions, because if you let it go, the other person thinks that that's okay, it's acceptable.
Okay, so it comes into the, go ahead.
No, you know that with kind of passive people, the more aggressive person is a little bit more manipulative. So they know that the passive person, they can manipulate the passive person a little bit because they're going to see how they can manage this kind of a passive character. So for a passive person, it's really important to become assertive and start to express their needs and what they want and everything, and work on the fact that why do they have the fear of doing that.
And I think this is also interesting about the fear, because even though at the first place, many people just no, I don't want to talk about that, because when I talk about that, it shame me. Like, I'm afraid, it's fear that these people are going to judge me, or that person is going to blame me. So I rather keep quiet. So where does the blame and fear come from? That's why they're not putting their needs again, beside of the childhood trauma or stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it comes from the childhood trauma or something, you know, whatever your childhood trauma is, where you became a passive person, so you wanted to please people. But you know, it's the cultural situation around as well. So we're going to see more of what we've created, because we've created a belief when we were small. So things around us and the cultural situations are going to confirm what we believe. So we just we're kind of submissive, you know, and then we become like that. We are worried about what people think, what people are going to say, whereas really it doesn't matter what people think or what people are going to say. It's about us being confident of who we are, you know, an assertive, balanced person that's coming forward into the world. But if we don't resolve these problems, these fears, these situations, then we're being conditioned by everything on the outside and not balanced on the inside.
Okay. So as a holistic life coach, that what we can do as a person, especially the young generation right now, are, I don't want to say fragile, but there's a lot of, you know, things like going on in this era. Whatever it is, you know, I'm not actually blaming the technology, or I'm not blaming any kind of things, or only focusing on the material things or stuff like that. So as a holistic life coach, what is your advice for the young generation right now to actually have the good communication, especially if they want to build a relationship with intimacy or anything?
Yeah, I would suggest that they come back to themselves. You know, there's spend a lot of time on social media, so there's a lot of looking on what's on the outside, comparing themselves, you know, to what they're seeing what everybody's doing, and that massive information during a day becomes very confusing in your head, and it's kind of, even that confirms some of the things that you already think about yourself. So what I would say to them is to just start to switch your phone off more time during the day. I don't know if you're working a lot, but finding time during the day to just connect with yourself, to go for walks, you know, really listen to yourself, become aware of yourself, aware of what you're thinking, aware of what you're saying, aware of how you're behaving with other people, just to become more aware of actually how you are showing up in the world. Are you shy? Are you passive? Are you aggressive? are you assertive and fair, nice, kind to everybody, but know how to put up boundaries? And then how are you being to be more mindful? What kind of practices can you do to be more mindful and be more aware of yourself? So what have you been doing, Uni, to be more mindful of yourself?
Well, it's actually a good question. Well, I spend time right now more into the meditation and walk myself without like, watching my phone. I just take away all of that kind of devices and I'm connect with myself. And it's so beautiful that you just share that the more I actually connect with myself by doing meditation or walk on the beach, or it's just like quiet alone, it gave me a lot of insight. And it's actually the biggest reflect ever in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gives you space, doesn't it? It
Yes.
actually empties your
Absolutely.
mind. So
Absolutely.
from that space, and when you're walking or doing an activity, you actually start to create. So you have more creation, you have more ideas for
Yeah.
yourself and
Mhm.
what you want to be, or finding out actually who you are really, who am I at my core? What are my values?
Mm.
What are my priorities? What do I want in life? And not conditioned by everything that's on the outside.
Mm.
So for me now, kids, young people, the biggest wealth is that actually connection to life
Oh my
itself, who you
God.
are, how you want to be in the life that you've got.
Oh my God. I personally can relate with that. That the biggest issue right now is that the wealthiest ever for the young generation right now is, being connect with yourself. And this is something that actually I'm getting curious about that, after you just mentioned this. And why is it that this in this generation that people they don't want to connect with themselves?
Because the society kind of pushes us away more and more from ourselves. We do so much work, we do so much time, we're rushing, we have to fit into a kind of a system. And it just, now the social media, so it consumes you. This takes away all your time if you don't take back your power and your time. So we're pushed into a system that's just running, and we feel like we don't have any time. So we get burnout, we get exhausted, we don't have the time to connect to people. We don't have the time. We just go to work, come home, go to bed, and next day start again. And that's how people are living. It's kind of on an overdrive of this system that we've got all the time. But we can actively carve out space and time for ourselves. And to have the time for yourself as well, which is really important for everybody. If you're a mom, you're a dad, whoever you are, it's importantly carve out, some time to yourself where you can just go contemplate, meditate, walk, play a sport, do something. You can do it as a family as well. But it's so important to find that time, whether it be getting up, like we've talked about before, getting up that little bit earlier in the morning to just put this hour or half an hour, whatever, extra into your day, and then maybe go to bed a little bit earlier at night.
Hmm.
And it's habits. It's all down to the habits, because as we were saying before, the beliefs that we create, the situations we've created, or the situations we've had have created habits in our life. So we've created a lot of bad habits as well that we just like fall into. It's kind of a comfort zone. And it takes quite a bit of effort to get out of those bad habits and create new, more healthy habits. that actually are good for us, that make us feel good, make us feel alive, make us feel more energetic, make us feel better, make us want to do more, you know.
How actually disconnected with ourselves it's impact our life. And that's actually a communication part of it. How are we going to communicate to others if we and ourselves, if the society, they actually disconnect with themselves and without taking responsibility how to connect with themselves? And I love with your advice that take time, whoever you are, to actually connect with yourself, with anything, with nature or whatever the activity, to build a healthy habit, at least to connect with self. And this society right now that it's interesting because nowadays, again and again, I mentioned this, that it's so difficult to connect with self because the society actually force us to, hey, make money, hey, do this, hey, work, hey. Even though I notice in my country, Indonesia, even though in the family, the young kid, the young people or kids or baby, they actually started to just give the phone, the electronic to the kids. So
Because it's easy.
oh
Because it's
yeah,
easy. And it's like that's an unconscious act as well for me, because they don't realize that the impact that's going to have on that child. A child shouldn't have a phone at all in the hand, I don't think, until they're a teenager. I would be for like, they have to be a teenager to have a phone.
yeah, yes,
Because they really don't need it. Unless they absolutely need it, you know, for whatever reason. But I think if you're organized enough and everything in a family, they don't need it. So yeah, children are sitting too many hours themselves. It's very addictive. It's highly addictive. Social, you know, looking on social, it's like I do it. You know, I'm guilty as well. I go to post my posts and do my work, and you just very quickly get sucked into the scrolling, and then before you know it, an hour has gone by. Well, that's an hour of your time. It's an hour of your day. It's your time. What would you do in an hour if you hadn't been scrolling the phone?
okay. And again, to actually being connect with self, it's being aware, knowing when you go to the social media scrolling, the time, oh, this is my time. And then after that, like creating a schedule, like not too much scrolling and things like that. So, and going back to the self-awareness in here, as especially, and I can feel that how also self-awareness is part of it, like it's not easy to being aware of everything, especially being aware of ourselves. And as awareness mentor, as what is the first step that we can do to be aware to ourselves, facing this, oh my goodness, bigger society and young generation, a lot of distraction and blah 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 and etc.
It's just coming back to ourselves. So it's reverting inwards. We need to look at, observe, how is my thinking? It's a practice. So being aware, awareness is a practice. So it's, how is my thinking in this moment?
Practice.
So we have an internal person that's independent of our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors. He's, let's say, the observer. So from this observer point, we can watch, what are we thinking? How are we behaving? You know, a lot of people are totally unaware of how they think, how they believe, and how they speak, because it's automatic. They have automatic responses that they've been doing for years. You know, if somebody says something, blah 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 blah, and that's it, without even thinking about it, and not thinking at all about the consequences of what they say to somebody. So it's taking responsibility of ourselves. This is the main fundamental point. It's the responsibility of yourself. How you're thinking, how you're behaving, how are you emotionally, you know, and taking care of yourself as well. So taking the time to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, physically. What do I say? What comes out of my mouth? Am I being kind to people, or am I being rude most of the time? You know, how do I speak? Am I expressing my needs when I speak? Am I being kind?
Wow.
Is it necessary? You know,
Yes.
is it necessary? Is it kind? The think, I've got it here. Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? The think, you know.
Right. So in the communication also, being aware to ourselves, and then think about what you're going to say, because it is actually, words is powerful, especially
Words are
it can
very,
impact to others in the communication. Yeah.
Well, words are very powerful, aren't they? You think if somebody's being aggressive to you, what are you feeling when someone's being aggressive to you?
Well, it's
If
kind of,
you're a sensitive person, you know, some people are thicker skinned, as they say, you know, they're a bit more, they're not really bothered, but people who are more sensitive and you know, more passive, think about how they feel when someone's being aggressive to them.
well, if people are too aggressive on me, and I can actually see, and I have a daughter here, she's very young, you know, and they become defensive, especially, you know, with the child, with friends. It's like, oh gosh, like a bullying and this kind of stuff with the child and to other child, and it's kind of like, oh God. So okay, so when do we have to start teaching our kids, you know, to have a good communication in this case, as a awareness mentor, as a holistic life coach in this case?
From when they're children, very small. But you know, we're there. Children watch us. So if we're not mature, emotionally mature, or whatever, the child is watching us. So the child's learning from us, obviously. So you know, it's how we behave, how we speak, how we deal with ourselves, and also the external world, because like you said, they go to school, they go with other kids bully, you know. It's probably how you deal with that. So would you be neutral with the other child and just explain to them that the way they're behaving isn't, you know, your daughter doesn't feel good if they behave like that? So do you explain it to them in a neutral manner, or would you be defensive and like be a bully back to the bullying child? So, you know, because when your child sees how you respond to things, then that's when they're learning.
Oh my God. And child, especially the young age, is very, very easy to absorb the example from the parents, the adults, or the friends, in whenever it is. And it's really easy because, again, they are fragile. And
Well,
I think
children are in natural spiritual, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. children in their natural spiritual alignment until they're about 7. So up until 7, they're very much in their totally authentic natural selves. But then, of course, as they grow, they're being molded, molded at school, molded at home, molded in society. And that's where it all starts to change. But, we really need to start realizing that we need to be an example in the world. It's personal responsibility for ourselves, but we also have a responsibility to what we're putting out in the world. So it's how are we being in the world? So it all comes from us. But this is the importance of knowing ourselves, growing, becoming, spiritually grown and connected and grounded and everything. It's really important. And if we don't, if we don't do it, the society is just going to keep going and keep going the way it is, and it's
sad.
I mean, I can see a lot of people are thinking about personal growth and being better people, and a lot of people are. We can't generalize, but there's a lot of people who aren't as well. So it's there's a big necessity to educate. And that's why it's good that we've got a lot more education like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, I think, it's just important. Yeah, it is actually important, to learn about the personal growth in life. And I'm so lucky that I know you. I met you, a few years ago, and you're my one of my biggest inspiration in here that really helped me in my personal growth, and I'm so grateful with it. So at least I can actually share what I know to my kid. So thank you so much for that. And I'm curious about the children, about the communication. As we are as adult or as a parent, they see us as an example for their life, and we cannot actually avoid that, because as an adult or as a parent, sometimes we have a lot of things going on in life. But the good thing is, as we are in the same journey, personal development, personal growth, knowing, connect, and being aware for ourselves is one of the key to help our kids to reconnect with them, with themselves. And what do you think about this young generation, that a lot more, it's people are more, like now it's almost like 8 billion people. Before it was 7 billion, and it become 8 billion people. People are coming rather than go, and how can we actually help them with a lot of society in the world? How many more people like you that can help them, or young generation, to make themselves, hey, please connect with yourself, because we have a lot more distraction and things like that. How many more?
Well, as many as there are, but again, we can put it out there and hopefully people see it, but it's only going to be received by who's actually ready to go there. We can lead a horse to water, but we can't make him drink, as they say.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. So, the people who are, we need to also encourage our children to express their emotions and express their needs, to help them to grow in a balanced way, helping them to observe themselves, see what they're feeling, why they're feeling this, and ask them to do this, what are you feeling right now? instead of when they get angry and have a fit and we get angry and shout at them and tell them to stop behaving badly, take the time to just sit and say, hey, what's going on? What are you feeling right now? What's happening?
I think this is one of the most difficult communication that we have, our society have right now, because instead of asking that question, they're busy. How's your
But the only reason we've got the problems that we've got when we've grown up is because we haven't gone through that process. When we've had our emotions, we haven't felt that we had anyone to speak to. So there's a distance between parents and other people around us, that we're feeling something when we're small, but we don't feel that there's anyone we can transmit that to.
Oh, I remember this, we had a little bit of conversation about that nowadays, especially, a family, it is actually difficult to have a communication with a family rather than friends that not sure that we can actually trust them. And I don't know about that, why is it, it's so much difficult to actually have a communication and conversation with them, or being honest with them?
Because there's been a moment when they needed you to be receptive to how they were feeling, but you've closed their emotions. You've cancelled them out. I haven't got time, or stop crying, or one of these things that we just habitually say to our kids because we're stressed and we're tired. For them, it's like they can't trust you anymore because you're not receiving how they're feeling. So they close. They're not going to ask you anymore. They're not going to open up to you anymore. So they just stop opening up, and they have to try. They have to try to deal with it themselves. And then obviously they're going to deal with it however they can. And people become more of a bully, or they become more passive and pleasing people, So they're not learning to be assertive and say what they need.
Wow. It's so dangerous, right? This society right now. It's not actually talking about things like in the bad way, but it's actually personal growth is very important. Okay, this has been an amazing conversation. But my last question for you, Sarah, is when do we start as a young people right now, nowadays, to have a good communication, especially to start having a good communication with themselves, being connect with themselves, being aware for themselves, so that we can change the world? When is it as a coach? Can we ask for help or start heal our trauma from the childhood or whatever it is, because it start from the beginning, it's come from ourselves, a lot of things in the head in this young generation. So in what age, when can we start to have a professional help with a coach or psychologist or whoever is that?
Yeah, any age, from children upwards.
Okay.
If you're observing problems with your child, then by all means, get them to speak to a coach. You can tutor them as a parent, or any age. There's not an age limit, is there? They start with small children to do therapy because children go through a lot, unfortunately. And any age where, especially teenagers, it would be good, I think, if they actually did this in school when they were teenagers, that they actually put them through a positive psychology process, where they start to learn about themselves, how to deal with situations, how to deal with themselves, to become more aware. It would be wonderful to do this in school, because as curriculum, because that's the perfect age. It's the worst age for trying to be fit in, not knowing who you are, not knowing what you want, and it would be the perfect time to go through a training.
Oh my
And
God,
learn
interesting. Wow.
It would save so much time, and like it would save relationships, it would save a lot of situations that are then happening when people get older, you know, people going into the wrong sort of work and everything. The people would be more balanced, they'd be more, of course they have to be willing to do it, because you know they could also
Yeah.
not be willing to do it, but to be
Mm.
encouraged and empowered to do it would be an amazing thing.
Yeah. Wow. Um, it's amazing, you know. Gosh, it's like I could have talked about communication again and again with you, but I know that it's never get enough, you know, about talking about this, especially with you. And yes, I really agree with that, that start as early as you can to um learn about personal development, especially um in education and when you were a teenager. But
Mm.
something that made me curious in here, I don't think at school they actually learn about personal growth. So what do you see from here? As a coach, I would like to have, hey, please give one at least 1 hour per week to actually learn about this. I'm not actually judging or whatever government or things like that. Not. I'm just like curious about this. So what do you think about that? That they don't have any education at school about personal growth?
Yeah, well, I mean, what can we do? It's not part of the
Yes.
curriculum. It would be nice if people started to understand and realize the importance of it. This is what would be perfect. It would be great if teachers went to do personal growth and
Mm,
became aware and have the knowledge to be able to deal with situations in the class, and that they actually have coaches in school, a coach. You
mm,
know, a lot of schools do have some kind of counseling, and but not enough. You know, we need to
no.
really have even part of the curriculum. It could be a lesson at school.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Thank you very much, Sarah, for your time. It's been interesting discussion and conversation about communication, and I would like to have one more next time if we have time, because this is not an easy part, and communication is very important, not just to understand and know it, but learn from it and um, working on it, improve the personal growth, connect with self, and start from yourself, from ourselves, to have a good communication, to build a good and healthy relationship, and um, to have a better connection in society. And thank you very much for your time. And it's been beautiful. Um,
Thank you. It has
one,
been great. It's been wonderful to speak to you. Sorry.
yeah, one
And
message for, yeah, go ahead, go you first.
yeah, all I want to say is that they need to connect with their hearts more. Come out of the head, drop down into your heart, and start
Mm,
trying to connect from your heart, because that's it. The connection is heart centered. Yeah, and this is what we need. We don't need mental people, we need heart centered people.
amazing, wonderful. By the way, I was about to ask you, please give one message about the this discussion. So that was the message. It come from the heart center, not the mental.
Mm.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah, for your time, and hope to
Thank
see you
you,
again
Amy.
next time. Yeah, and
See you soon.